and there's no turning it back at this point. Something fundamental has changed, and we're hoping that the control of the financial system will soon be taken away from these people, and there's going to be some kind of jubilee. But it's not over till it's over. You still have this fantasy world where, for example, Elon Musk is going to, take his SpaceX public and become the first trillionaire, based on mostly computer graphics, although they do have Starlink, but nonetheless, these people are fighting to the death. But I guarantee you this time it is different. And one good piece of evidence is that Jared Kushner, who the Italian P3 Freemasons seem to think is their leader and one of the top people in this clique, tried to buy an island in Albania. Watch this clip.
Well, turns out that Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner aren't just buying a private island to build a luxury resort. Sazan Island is Albania's largest island and is strategically located, once an isolated top-secret Cold War military base featuring thousands of bunkers and miles of tunnels. Now, why in the world would our United States Special Envoy for Peace missions need an island with all of that? So when Ivanka said this,
the opportunity to help realize its potential and transform it, but with a lot of restraint and care, because the land is so beautiful that really the architecture has to be fully integrated into it, almost rise from it.
That's such a sweet story about preserving the beautiful land and the nature and building the architecture around that. But I wonder if you're building the architecture around something else. It's important to note that the Albanian people are not happy about this, and they're protesting in the thousands, and they're also demanding that the prime minister resign for allowing such a corrupt deal to go through. But again, I'm sure this purchase is just to build a big, beautiful luxury resort, not a personal bunker on an island. As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
He's trying to buy a Cold War bunker in an island in Albania, because he's obviously looking for a place to hide. The man knows his days are numbered, and he knows, and he's looking for a place to hide. I don't think it's going to work for him. I don't think there's anywhere he can hide, because the entire world is pissed off about the murder in Gaza and Lebanon and elsewhere, and they're just not going to get away with this time. I know it's been very frustrating, but something really is changing. Now, another thing that you won't see in a lot of the news is that the Southern Poverty Law Center has been accused by the Justice Department of staging fake Ku Klux Klan cross burnings and using government money to buy masks and stage cross burnings so they can fake white supremacy in order to justify all sorts of crackdowns on human rights and patriots. So these are the people we're dealing with. They've been staging these fake events, controlling the politicians, and not just that, they've also been poisoning us. Watch this JFK Jr. clip to see what I mean.
We are revising the GRAS standards to ensure that FDA, for the first time, knows what chemicals are in our food. When I came in, I asked FDA how many chemicals are in our food, and they said, well, we don't know. We don't have a list of them. It's somewhere between 4,000 and 12,000, and that's because the industry hijacked the GRAS standard and added all these chemicals. In Europe, they only have 400 chemicals in their food, and the 9,600 actual ones that we have are all illegal there.
So they're putting all these chemicals in our food, and they've been trying to kill us. And I think finally we've reached the point where we cannot stand it anymore. And this is also global. Like I say, the meeting of the Asian secret societies is something that the whole world is involved in. And what it's going to mean is that the United States is going to be replaced with something different. Watch this clip from Australian television in Iran to see how the world, most of the world, looks at the current regime of the United States. And remember, this has nothing to do with the American people. They feel the American people need to be liberated from their own government, and I think most American people agree with this. But watch how the Iranians look at the Americans, because that's how the world's looking at the current regime in the United States.
I want to show you these striking set of images we found opposite the old American embassy. And I guess you could describe them as what Iran considers to be the great crimes of the United States, starting with violence against Native Americans, the slave trade, and the bombing of Hiroshima in Japan. And it goes on all the way through until the end, with the final picture showing young girls on Jeffrey Epstein's private island.
Their president is a psychopath, and that's normal for Americans. But we are powerful through our military and our people. Nowhere in the world will you see people who are being attacked for 81 days, and they are still standing. That is power.
This is one of the most famous billboards in Tehran at the moment, and it's a blow-up of President Trump's face. The tape across his mouth is in the shape of the Strait of Hormuz, and the sign says, "At the breaking point." It's basically a warning to the Americans that if they keep pushing Iran, they're going to stitch up the strait. This is some new graffiti that has come up just in the last few weeks, and it says, "Ceasefire is stupid, negotiation is betrayal."
Iran's enemies are America and the Zionist regime of Israel, who have proven their cruelty and injustice by the killing of children and innocent people. This has been clear to us for many years, for a very long time.
You know, that's all I'm going to say for myself this week, but, you know, I have been active. I've been making contacts with the U.S. military and Asian secret societies, because we really do want to see these people finally arrested and in front of the cameras. But again, they still control a lot of the corporations and a lot of the internet, so the battle will continue, but you know, things are happening for sure. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi Ben, I would like to remind everyone again that RFK Jr. has been contacted in person and by other means by the, quote, no viruses community with all of their proof that viruses never proved to exist, and RFK refuses to look at all of their evidence. Do you still think that RFK is the good guy that we thought he was when he was running alongside with Trump?
Well, if you look at what he's saying about vaccines and about poisons in our food, that part I support. Now, as far as the no virus people are concerned, I agree that they haven't been able to prove that viruses exist. However, people do get sick. They do catch colds. And I've asked these no virus people, all right, well, if it's not virus, what is it that's making us sick? Because we need to find out. And they don't have an answer for that. But maybe viruses don't exist, but sicknesses really do. And you know, hopefully when this is over and medical science is once again trying to make us better, we'll find out what it is causing it, making us sick. It could be bioweapons, it could be electromagnetic attack, I don't know, but something is making us sick, and we need to find out what it is if it's not viruses. Next question.
Hi Ben, what are we having going on right now in the Middle East? Does this war with Iran actually have anything to do with oil at all? Or is it just about the cabal wanting to instate central banking in a country that did not previously have central banking?
Well, it was an attempt to steal the Iranian people's gold and oil in order to keep the Federal Reserve Board from going bankrupt. However, some people are saying that what's really going on is that they staged this war so that they could raise the price of gas to force people to either have to buy electric cars they can't afford, or to move them into 15-minute cities where they don't need a card and they can be in a little 15-minute bicycle ride prison. And then the whole thing is staged. I'm not sure for sure, because a lot of it does seem contradictory. So I get information that all the U.S. military bases have been destroyed, and then yet after that we get information that U.S. military bases have been attacked again. And we see all these videos of cities being destroyed by bombs, and then we see videos of the cities that are still intact, like Tel Aviv, and it's so confusing with all these fakes. videos out there to understand what's really going on. But what I do know from my own direct contacts with the Iranians is that they believe the United States and Israel are ruled by a satanic cult, and they're fighting to overthrow them. And that part is real. And so is a lot, the Asians are also trying to liberate the West from a satanic cult. So that part is real. But as far as all these videos about war and stuff, so much of it is fake. I don't know what to say. Next question.
Hey, Ben. You seem to be a little bit disheveled and out of sorts as of recently, and I'm wondering if you're okay. Sometimes your answers seem contradictory, and sometimes you say Trump is alive. The next minute you say he's an imposter. I'm worried about your health and if you're doing okay, but I'm also worried about the information that you're currently getting.
Well, I've been getting, a lot of contradictory information feeds, and it is confusing for sure. And I think what's going on is that, there's a battle with different groups, with different Trumps, with different image characters, and I believe at the end of the day, what we need to stop using fake leaders like, an actor pretending to be Donald Trump, and actually once again get back to, leaders who are actually elected by the people in a real democracy with real freedom of the press. As far as my health is concerned, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling fine, but I do need a holiday. I need to rest, and I need to go on my annual fast to detox. So I'm not in 100% shape, but I'm not sick or anything like that. But thanks for the concern, and I'll try to, manage my health better. Next question, please.
Hi, Ben. We are hearing basically nothing about the war in Ukraine and what's actually taking place there. I also wonder what are your thoughts are on Tucker Carlson. I feel like he has moved away from the narrative and is truly now an independent journalist, and I'd like your opinion. Do you think that the war in Ukraine is basically over? Is there anything going on? And on Tucker Carlson, do you believe that he is truly aligned with the people's interests?
Well, first of all, as far as the war in Ukraine is concerned, I'd like you to watch this clip from Colonel Douglas McGregor talking about what's going on there.
We're talking about corruption and people who profit from the war. Some reporting is that a MOD plant that was linked to Zelensky was hit by Russia, and the factory was long linked to Zelensky. It did produce long-range attack UAVs and missiles. So at the very least, it weakens Ukraine's ability to answer if they do advance into these cities.
And I don't know how many times it was. I think 3 or 4 times the comment was made about Messieurs Kushner and Witkoff, and saying, we understand, we're Russians. We're familiar with this sort of thing. We understand why Kushner is there as a son-in-law and why Witkoff, an old business crony of the president, is there. But please, can't you send some people back who are prepared to talk seriously about the issue, which is ending the war in Ukraine, finding a way out of this? We can make side deals with them at their convenience after the talks. I mean, stop and think about that statement. That was what's in Russian in the papers. I think we have a huge problem with this corruption business. You have BlackRock that is trying to buy up hundreds of thousands of acres of Ukrainian farmland. You have people that are talking about turning eastern Ukraine, or western Ukraine rather, into some sort of new Israeli destination by denuding it of Ukrainians and bringing in people from Israel. I mean, there are all sorts of strange things going on, but you also have to look at the money sources and where the money's coming from. And you suddenly realize these are all the same people that are pushing for war in the Persian Gulf and have been pushing for war against Russia. It's frightening, and it does pay handsomely. And I think the Russians know that. And I think increasingly you're going to see the Russians pick targets that they know represent investment from the West, particularly from the United States.
So you can see there was an agenda to depopulate Ukraine. The Russians were involved, as were the Ukrainians. And this is Chabad, and the idea was to create a new Khazarian homeland there. And that project is ending, as far as I can tell. But you know, the fact that we still see Zelensky on our screens, the fact that it's still funneling money through there, means that the whole operation has not ended yet, and it's still going on. But I don't think it's a war anymore. It's more of a, you know, slow motion genocide and financial takeover by people like BlackRock. And something needs to be done about it. And I think that means a purge on the Russian side as well as on the Western side.
Question for today. Says businesses around me are going bankrupt everywhere. Foreclosures are at an all-time high. Good people are suffering greatly, and we need financial relief as soon as possible. If the alliance is waiting on a minimum number to awaken to disclose the worst, why not release the resources stolen by the cabal now to the good people to help them survive financially, along with some meaningful disclosure? This economic stimulus plan will get the attention of the unawakened normies, make them see the truth, and turn the tide the quickest.
I agree completely, and I told my own U.S. Space Force and military contacts that they need to go and arrest Scott Bessent and take away his control of the financial system so that people can get relief. And you know, we're fighting for it. But again, these are people who've been, you know, murdering hundreds of millions of people. They've tried to kill us all with vaccines. They're very powerful, they're very evil, they're very smart, and they're fighting for their lives. But it's going to take the military to do it. And so far, they haven't, but it is going to happen because their paychecks are about to bounce if they don't. But we're working to try to help the American people get them out of this insanely corrupt, parasitic system as soon as possible. Everybody who's listening or watching to this, please don't just passively sit there. Do what you can personally. Let's all make this happen. All right, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week, and I hope to see you again next week.